Okay, so let's talk about John Edward Szeles. Now, maybe that name doesn't immediately jump out at you,
Probably not for most people, no.
but his stage name almost certainly will, the Amazing Johnathan.
Yes. Definitely rings a bell.
And today we are doing a deep dive into the sources, looking at how this guy built a whole career, a really long-running one, on, well, chaos, basically.
Idle chaos. It was this bizarre mix, wasn't it? Like
Yeah.
traditional stage magic meets really aggressive shock humor.
And it all led up to this incredibly dramatic final act, fighting a health battle that everyone, including him, thought would end years earlier.
Yeah, exactly. So our mission today really is to kind of unpack what made him tick. What was the essence of this, let's call him abrasive but undeniably successful performer?
Right. We're not just giving you a biography here. We're trying to figure out his strategy. How did he become this Las Vegas mainstay, a headliner for, what, over a decade?
Yeah, from 2001 to 2014, pretty much solid, which is huge in Vegas.
And he did it by basically flipping the bird to every expectation, right? He wasn't your slick, family-friendly magician.
Not even close.
Or even just a standard stand-up comedian. He took this devastating health diagnosis, a terminal one, and somehow wove it into the final chapter of his whole performance.
It became part of the act, in a way.
Yeah.
Raw, unfiltered.
And you can't really understand his whole brand without starting where he started himself. The shock value. He gave himself this nickname.
Oh, yeah.
That was just brilliant marketing, honestly. Chilling, but brilliant. He called himself the Freddy Krueger of Comedy.
Boom. Right there, you know what you're in for. Or rather, you know you don't know what you're in for, but it's probably not going to be comfortable.
Exactly. It's a promise and a warning. All in one. It says, expect fake blood.
And that name, it just perfectly captures the contradiction at the heart of his whole thing.
Yeah.
Because the sources are pretty clear on this. His actual act. It was mostly like messing around. Hijinks, as they put it.
Right. Hijinks and interacting with the audience a lot.
Yeah, often pretty aggressively, too. Yeah. Pulling people up, making them part of the chaos, the actual magic tricks, the technically difficult stuff.
The illusions, the perfect sleight of hand.
That was almost secondary, sometimes non-existent even. He wasn't trying to wow you with how smoothly he made a rabbit disappear.
No, he was relying on the shock, the mess, the audience's immediate gut reaction.
Exactly. That blend, the subversion of magic through comedy, or maybe comedy through subverted magic. That was his unique selling proposition, and somehow it gave him this incredible longevity in a town, Las Vegas, that usually eats performers alive if they're not predictably polished.
Okay, let's dig into that Freddy Krueger style a bit more, because it wasn't just a name, it was a whole aesthetic. We need to talk about the stage gore and the gimmicks. He had to look different.
Oh, absolutely. You couldn't mistake him for David Copperfield, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Or even just a regular comic in a suit. He cultivated this look, this energy that was manic, maybe a little unhinged.
The headband?
The headband, yeah. His ever-present headband, as the sources call it. Sometimes felt like it was literally holding his act together.
Or maybe his head?
Maybe. But the real differentiator, the thing that made people talk, was the gore. The explicit, shocking visual stuff he worked into the routine.
And we're not talking subtle hints here. This was in your face, designed to make you uncomfortable, but then somehow laugh about it. The sources give some really specific examples that were like staples of his act.
They do, and they're pretty out there. They tell you a lot about his commitment to this persona.
Okay, like what? Give us the gory details.
All right. Well, one famous bit involved him seemingly sucking on his own eyeball, which was hanging out of the socket.
Right. Just the visual alone. You're immediately like, wait, what? Is that?
Exactly. Total misdirection through revulsion. Then there was a bit where he'd appear to slice his own wrists. Stage blood, obviously. Clever techniques. But the image, the idea of it.
Was that he was harming himself for your entertainment, which is inherently unsettling.
Deeply. And probably the most iconic one, the one you saw in posters and stuff, skewering his own tongue.
Yeah, that one's burned into my memory.
Right. And what's key there, the dynamic, is that he wasn't trying to fool you into thinking he had magical powers. He wasn't aiming for oohs and ahs about the impossibility.
No, he wanted the flinch, he wanted the gasp, and then the relief, the laugh that comes after the shock.
Precisely. He often even showed you how the trick worked, or just admitted it wasn't a trick at all. The entertainment wasn't the mystery. It was the audacity. How far could he push it?
And the audience was right there with him, whether they wanted to be or not. You mentioned the interaction.
Crucial. His shows weren't just him talking at people. They heavily relied on pulling someone specific out of the audience.
Making them the co-star or maybe the victim.
Kind of, yeah.
Mm.
They became the foil for his chaos, which, that takes serious skill. You have to be able to read the room, improvise constantly, control the energy, even while seeming totally out of control.
That's a great point. People may be focused on the blood and missed the incredible improvisational talent underneath.
Totally. The chaos was meticulously crafted chaos.
And it worked. In Vegas, of all places. This wasn't some underground club. He was a mainstream Vegas headliner for a very long time.
It's actually kind of staggering when you think about it. That longevity, like you said, 2001 to 2014, a year-round headliner.
Think about the shows that come and go on the Strip. Big productions, huge names, staying power like that, especially for a solo comic magician. It's rare.
It really is. It means people were buying tickets consistently, year after year. The word of mouth must have been incredible, people telling their friends, you got to see this crazy guy.
Now, there's this claim mentioned in the sources about his historical significance, that he was the longest-running, most successful solo comic magician in U.S. history.
Right, I saw that. And it's important, like you said, that the source itself notes that this needs verification. That's a huge claim.
It is. Longest-running, most successful, hard metrics to pin down definitively.
But the fact that the claim even exists, that it was associated with him during his peak, that tells you something about his perceived status. Whether it's statistically perfect or not, he was seen as being in that top tier, setting records.
And we don't need that specific claim to see his success because the local accolades are concrete. Awards from the people who really judge Vegas success.
Exactly. He won Best Comedian from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, the LVRJ. That's a big deal there.
The paper of record for the Strip.
And Comedian of the Year from Nevada Magazine. Plus, the LVRJ put him on their list of the top 10 acts in Vegas, period.
Not just top 10 comedians or magicians. Top 10 acts. Alongside the huge Cirque shows and music residencies.
Right. So these weren't just participation trophies. These were serious acknowledgments from the industry and the press saying, okay, this weird, gory, chaotic act, it's actually top-tier entertainment. It validated the whole Freddy Krueger thing as legitimate performance art.
Which maybe helps explain his connections within the more traditional magic world. You'd think the serious magicians might have looked down on him.
You might think that, yeah. The guy skewering his tongue doesn't exactly scream prestige magic. But his relationship with Criss Angel is fascinating.
Right. Another huge Vegas name, but with a very different sort of dark, serious vibe.
Totally different vibe. But they work together quite a bit. Jonathan actually helped Criss Angel design and perform illusions.
So behind the scenes, Jonathan had the technical chops. He wasn't just a comedian pretending to do magic.
Not at all. He understood the mechanics, the engineering, the misdirection required for big stage illusions. And it wasn't just behind the scenes. He appeared on Criss Angel's TV show, Mind Freak, 3 times as a guest.
That collaboration is really key, isn't it? It shows that even though his stage act constantly poked fun at or dismantled serious magic,
he was still respected by the serious magic community. He wasn't some total outsider throwing rocks. He was inside, using his skills to help execute these massive illusions for one of the biggest names in the business. It proved the foundation was solid, even as the building he constructed on top was on. Well, bizarre. Absolutely. And that persona, that Vegas headliner we've been talking about, he didn't just appear out of nowhere, fully formed with a bloody tongue. We got to trace it back, right? Back to the beginning of John Edward Szeles.
Let's do that. So, born September 9, 1958, Detroit, Michigan, parents, Doreen and Edward Szeles. But his path wasn't in the auto industry. He headed west.
Yeah, in the 70s, he moves out to California. And where does he start performing? Not in comedy clubs initially.
Right on the street,
Yeah.
San Francisco, street performer.
And that's so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Street performing teaches you things you just can't learn anywhere else.
Like how to grab attention instantly.
Exactly. How to handle hecklers, how to adapt on the fly, how to hold a crowd that could just walk away at any second. That's where he honed those improv skills, that quick wit.
Skills that were absolutely essential for his later Vegas act. With all the audience interaction, he learned to manage chaos by performing in chaos.
Perfectly put. He later weaponized that chaos, made it part of the routine.
But even with all the anarchy and the shock value he layered on top, there was always this core connection back to classic magic, a very personal one.
Yeah, that dedication in his Comedy Central special, wrong on every level.
He dedicated it to his Uncle Eugene.
Right, because Uncle Eugene showed him his very first card trick, and Jonathan, in his typical style, said that trick started this whole mess.
It's such a great line, but it grounds the whole thing, doesn't it? It shows that underneath the Freddy Krueger persona, there was this kid who was just amazed by a simple card trick.
Exactly. The core wasn't anger or nihilism, it was wonder, the fun of deception. He just chose to wrap that wonder in, fake eyeballs and jokes about cutting yourself.
So, from the streets of San Francisco, how did he make the leap to national TV? Seems like that happened relatively quickly.
It did, which says a lot about how unique and attention-grabbing his act was right from the start. His first big break on television was the 8th annual Young Comedian Show in 1983.
Okay, so that put him on the map nationally.
Big time. It opened doors. And he wasn't just a flash in the pan. He became a pretty regular face on TV through the 80s and 90s. People knew who he was. He was reliable, high energy.
Did he try other formats? I think I remember him hosting something.
Yeah, briefly. In 1991, he hosted this syndicated show called Ruckus. It was like a variety/game show kind of thing.
Ruckus, okay.
How'd that go?
Didn't last long. It's interesting, though. It's like they tried to bottle his manic energy into a more conventional, maybe family-friendly format.
And it just didn't quite work. Maybe too restrictive for him.
Could be. But what really shows his staying power, his consistent appeal, are the numbers on the big talk shows and comedy shows. Multiple appearances on Late Night with David Letterman.
Which was like the seal of approval for comics back then? Absolutely. Getting on Letterman was huge. And then there's Fox's Comic Strip Live. He was on that show a record number of times.
How many?
24 appearances.
Wow. 24 times. That's not just a guest spot. That's practically being a cast member.
Pretty much. It shows the producers loved him. He wasn't just a novelty act you book once. He was someone they could count on, again and again, to bring the energy and the laughs. He delivered.
He was just part of the comedy furniture for a long time. And speaking of fitting into specific niches, his only actual acting credit is kind of perfect.
Oh, right. Playing a character, not just being himself.
Yeah. He played Uncle Jonathan on The Weird Al Show. In the obligatory holiday episode, no less.
And they make so much sense. Weird Al, another master of subverting expectations, of course he'd have the Amazing Johnathan on. Playing a slightly more cartoonish version of his already cartoonish persona, the weird, unpredictable uncle.
He was already kind of a pop culture archetype by then.
Definitely. And reflecting that, and his place in the comedy world, he pops up in that 2005 documentary, The Aristocrats.
Ah, yes. The ultimate dirty joke documentary.
Exactly. Given his whole style, his comfort with pushing boundaries and being offensive, his inclusion there feels almost mandatory. It cements his place among the envelope pushers.
And this whole package, this unique blend of shock and skill, it didn't just play in the U.S., did it?
No, he actually found significant success internationally, particularly in Australia.
How did that happen?
Apparently, through appearances on a really popular Australian TV show called Hey Hey It's Saturday, he became a big name down there.
Which proves the appeal wasn't just American or just Vegas. The visual comedy, the shock, the irreverence, it translated.
Yeah, that physical humor, that willingness to cross lines, it seems pretty universal. It wasn't just some niche taste. It was globally marketable weirdness.
You know, it's really easy to just think of the Amazing Johnathan as the guy on stage, covered in fake blood, nonstop energy.
Yeah, that's the dominant image for sure.
But the sources show this whole other side to him. Off stage, he was incredibly creative, entrepreneurial even, writing books, launching weird businesses, combining passions in really unexpected ways.
Absolutely. He wasn't just the performer. He was clearly driven by other interests too.
Yeah.
And the way he combined them is fascinating. Like, take classic car collecting.
Okay, a fairly common hobby for successful entertainers.
Right. And then take drive-in movie theaters.
Okay, nostalgic Americana. Seems totally unrelated.
Exactly. But Johnathan smashes them together. In 2008, while he's still headlining nightly in Vegas, he launches this side project called The Amazing Underground.
The Amazing Underground. Okay, tell me more.
It was literally an indoor, members-only drive-in movie theater built inside his massive warehouse facility in Vegas.
Wait, indoor? How does that work?
He'd use his own collection of classic cars for people to sit in, project the movie onto a screen. It was this exclusive, private, totally unique experience.
Wow. That's incredibly niche and kind of brilliant.
Isn't it? It tells you so much about his whole aesthetic. He'd take something familiar, the drive-in, makes it exclusive, secret almost, hidden in a warehouse. It's that same pattern. Taking tradition and twisting it, making it his own weird thing.
Surrounding himself with his classic cars, entertaining his friends. It's like his ultimate clubhouse.
Totally. Controlled environment, just like his stage show. in a way.
And beyond building bizarre venues, he put serious effort into writing, too. He actually published a book.
Yeah, how-to book, essentially, called Every Trick in the Book. And it was all about practical jokes.
Not just magic tricks.
No, practical jokes were a big focus. But the sources say it was a mix. It had classic practical jokes, straightforward magic tricks, and his own original stuff in both categories.
So he's kind of documenting the whole spectrum of deception, from whoopee cushions to, I don't know, his own weird inventions.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It shows this respect, maybe, for the history of fooling people, even as his stage act was all about blowing up those traditions. He understood the foundations.
Which makes the project he was working on later even more poignant. He started writing his memoirs around 2014.
Right, just as the health stuff was really getting serious. And the working title he had for it is perfect.
What was it?
Drive It. Like you stole it.
Oh, man. That just sums up his whole approach, doesn't it? To performing, to life, go full throttle, consequences be damned.
Exactly. Aggressive, high stakes, live fast. And tragically, the sources note that his health declined so much that he couldn't finish it.
So the story remains unfinished, in his own words, consumed by the very health battle we're about to get into.
Yeah, a powerful symbol, really.
And before that health crisis completely took over, he even dipped his toes into the digital world, right? Adapting to how media was changing.
He did. In 2013, he hosted his own online talk show.
What was it called? Knowing him, it had to have a fitting name.
Oh, it did. Burn Unit.
Burn Unit, of course. Still carrying that edgy, slightly dangerous vibe, even into an online talk show format.
Exactly. It shows he still wanted to create, to connect, even as maybe the grueling Vegas schedule was becoming too much. He just kept finding outlets. Stage, books, warehouses, online streams. Wherever he could broadcast that unique Johnathan energy.
The drive just seems relentless, constantly performing, constantly creating in whatever form possible.
And that relentlessness brings us to the final and in many ways most defining chapter of his life. This wasn't just a private struggle. His battle with illness became this public, years-long saga.
Yeah, a performance in itself, almost.
Yeah.
Watching him defy the odds, documenting it.
It started quite a while back, actually. The first reports of a serious heart condition surfaced in March 2007.
2007, wow. So he was dealing with this even during a big chunk of his Vegas peak.
Seems like it. His website later identified it specifically as cardiomyopathy, which is, well, it's a tough diagnosis for anyone, let alone a performer like him.
Explain cardiomyopathy quickly. What does it do?
Basically, it's a disease of the heart muscle itself. It gets weaker, often enlarged or thickened, and it just can't pump blood effectively around the body. It's progressive, usually gets worse over time.
And think about his act. It was pure physical energy, right? Manic movement, constant talking, the stress of live performance every single night. That feels like the absolute worst thing for a failing heart.
It's a direct conflict. Cardiomyopathy usually demands rest, avoiding stress. His entire career was built on the opposite.
Yet somehow he managed it for years, that drive it like you stole it mentality again.
Exactly. The sources say initially he did relatively well. He lost weight, took blood thinners, managed to keep the Vegas show going for another 5 years or so after that initial diagnosis became known.
But eventually, the physical reality caught up. 2012 seems like a turning point.
It was. That's when he decided not to renew his contract at Bally's. In December 2012, after 13 straight years, his regular Vegas headlining run ended.
13 years. That's an incredible era coming to a close.
Did he stop performing altogether then? Not immediately. He still toured a bit in 2013, playing clubs.
Yeah.
Trying to stay in the game, But the big, demanding residency was done.
And then things got worse.
Yeah. By 2014, his heart condition had deteriorated significantly. That's when the official retirement announcement came.
Okay. Did he do final shows?
He did. A sort of final public performance in Toledo, Ohio. Like a farewell wave to the general audience. But then he did 2 very specific, very meaningful final shows right after that. June 30th and July 1st, 2014.
Where were those held?
At the Magic Castle in Hollywood.
Ah, the Magic Castle. The heart of the established magic community. Performing his final shows there? That feels significant, like a nod to the craft beneath the chaos.
Exactly. Acknowledging that world even as he was leaving the stage. But the real bombshell, the most amazing Johnathan moment of the whole retirement process, came a few months later.
This wasn't going to be a quiet fade-out, was it?
Not a chance. November 5th, 2014. He's appearing on this live talk show, ENT Speaks, in front of an audience, peers, fans, and he just drops it. Announces right there that doctors had given him only a year to live.
Wow. On a public talk show. That's incredibly raw and theatrical.
Totally. turning his own terminal diagnosis into a public spectacle. It was terrifying, deeply personal, but handled with that same kind of shocking audacity he used on stage, making headlines out of his own impending death.
So the clock starts ticking. He's got a year, maybe.
That was the prognosis. But here's the twist, the truly amazing part. He didn't die in a year.
He defied it.
Massively. He defied his initial terminal prognosis, as the sources put it, for several years. What was supposed to be the final curtain call just became this extended, medically baffling intermission.
His defiance became the story.
It really did. And that defiance, the refusal to just fade away, eventually pulled him back to performing. He couldn't stay retired.
He went back on stage. When was this?
In 2017, he did several shows across the U.S., a comeback tour of sorts. But it was different this time. You could see the toll the illness had taken.
How so? Was he less energetic?
Visibly, yeah. And he needed help. This is where his personal life really intersected with the performance in a new way. His partner, who was also his manager, Anastasia Sin.
He married her in 2014, right before the big announcement.
That's right. Anastasia became crucial to these final shows. She'd assist him on stage, and the sources say she would actually take over parts of the act when he got too fatigued to continue.
Wow. So the audience is watching him struggle, watching his partner literally prop him up and help him finish the show. That's a whole new level of vulnerability for a guy known for manic energy.
It really is. The invincible facade was gone, replaced by this incredibly human struggle right there under the spotlights. The audience wasn't just watching jokes and tricks anymore. They were witnessing his fight to keep going, minute by minute.
And his personal life details. Married twice, you mentioned. First to Sandra Bowing back in 95, divorced in 2000. Then Anastasia Sin in 2014. And he had a stepdaughter, Haley Kenyon.
Right. And this whole dramatic story, the illness, the defiance, the comeback, it obviously captured public imagination. Because in 2019, not one, but 2 documentaries about him came out.
2 separate films at the same time.
Yep. The Amazing Johnathan documentary landed on Hulu. And another one, always amazing. The true story of the life, death, and return of Amazing Johnathan came out on YouTube.
The fact that 2 different crews were simultaneously making films about him, that tells you how compelling his story had become. It wasn't just comic get sick. It was this larger-than-life narrative of resilience and performance against all odds.
Absolutely. He turned his mortality into a public narrative, and people were fascinated.
So after years of living on borrowed time, performing this extended final act, how did it end?
He passed away relatively peacefully, actually. In his sleep from the heart failure, at home in Las Vegas, February 22, 2022, he was 63.
63 still feels young.
It does. But he packed a lot into those years, especially the final ones.
And despite everything, the gore, the chaos, the anti-magic stance, sometimes the traditional magic world did formally recognize him, didn't they?
Yes, and this is really important. Back in 2007, near his peak, he received a special fellowship from the Academy of Magical Arts.
The organization behind the Magic Castle? The establishment?
Exactly. That special fellowship is a serious honor. It's given for outstanding contributions to magic as an art form. Getting that means the gatekeepers, the traditionalists, saw past the shock value.
They recognized the skill, the control, the sheer dedication to performance that underpin the whole crazy act.
Precisely. It confirms he wasn't just a shock jock. He was, in his own unique way, a master of his craft. #tag OUTRO.
So when we look back at this whole roller coaster of a career, what's the main thing we should take away? What's the distilled essence for you listening to this?
I think the key insight is that the Amazing Johnathan's real impact, his lasting legacy, wasn't about perfecting a card trick or creating the most baffling illusion.
No, it was about mastering performance energy, that blend of shock, humor, chaos.
But with perfect timing.
Yeah, and that incredible ability to connect with an audience instantly, powerfully, often by making them incredibly uncomfortable. He built this enduring Vegas brand by breaking all the rules, by being the opposite of what you expected.
Total subversion as a brand strategy. And it worked.
And then there's a final act, that resilience. Taking a death sentence and turning it into more stage time, more life. Performing for years when doctors said he had months.
He made the fight itself part of the show, didn't he?
Yeah.
The illness became the ultimate reveal, the rawest performance. That vulnerability in the end was maybe the most powerful part of his whole legend.
Definitely. It added this whole other layer.
Okay, so here's a final thought to chew on, something provocative. We've talked about the gore, the Freddy Krueger thing, the constant skewering of traditional magic.
But this is the same guy who dedicated a special to the uncle who taught him his first simple card trick. And this is the same guy who received that high honor, the special fellowship, From the Academy of Magical Arts, the most traditional institution imaginable.
Right. It's a paradox.
So what does that mean? Does it tell us something about art versus entertainment, or maybe craft versus spectacle?
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Did his absolute unwavering commitment to just entertaining people, to holding that audience captive by any means necessary, however shocking or crude, did that sheer force of performance ultimately break through? Did it transcend the genres he loved to mock?
Maybe his greatest trick wasn't making an eyeball hang out, but making the stuffy, serious magic world acknowledge that what he was doing, this chaotic, messy, hilarious thing, was also a form of real magic.
Yeah. Maybe true magic is just about creating that spell over an audience, holding them completely. And maybe the method, however unconventional, doesn't matter as much as the effect. Something to think about, definitely. Was the chaos actually the ultimate expression of skill?